Someone who is enjoying a book, a song, a movie, or a television show is enriching his or her inner world by imagining new physical, intellectual, and emotional possibilities. Sometimes, however, the world a person creates in his or her art isn't imaginary at all. All of the places in this video are actual places that a tourist can visit. All of them have been popularized because of their associations with certain books, music, movies, and television shows. Number 10. Graceland, home of Elvis Presley. When the king of rock and roll, Elvis Presley, bought his Memphis estate, Graceland, in 1957, it was one of the most costly properties in the area. Unable to afford the expense of caring for the estate after Elvis's death, Elvis's former wife, Priscilla Presley, opened it up to the public in 1982. Now roughly 600,000 people visit Graceland each year to pay homage to their favorite rock and roll royal. Graceland is a tourist destination because of its socio-cultural significance. Elvis spent 20 years of his life there. However, Graceland also has artistic significance, as it has served as a muse for successful songwriters. In Walking in Memphis, singer-songwriter Mark Cohen sings about seeing the ghost of Elvis Presley while touring Graceland. In Graceland, a song from the album of the same name, singer-songwriter Paul Simon sings about the creative and personal redemption that he finds while visiting his idol's home. Number 9. Lyme Park and Sudbury Hall. Pride and Prejudice. Mr. Darcy, the hero of Jane Austen's 1813 novel Pride and Prejudice, was mentioned more in 1995 than at any time since 1900. This is partially because it's when screen and teleplay writer Andrew Davies adapted the novel into a 6-hour miniseries for the BBC. When the novel's heroine, Elizabeth Bennet, tours the estate of Mr. Darcy, played by Colin Firth, whose marriage proposal she has rejected because she thinks him haughty, she realizes that the man she has turned down is very well endowed with property. His estate, Pemberley, consists of lush woodlands and a stately manor. When they unexpectedly meet at Pemberley, Elizabeth and Darcy better understand both each other and the nature of their own romantic feelings. The Pemberley of the 1995 miniseries is actually two places. The exterior shots of Pemberley were filmed at Lyme Park in the Peak District of Cheshire. When the cast and crew were ready to film the interior shots for Pemberley, Lyme Park, which is open to the public, was no longer available. The interior shots for Pemberley, including the elegant long gallery, were shot in Sudbury Hall, an estate in Derbyshire. Tour guide Maddie Hall says that when she takes tourists who are using P&P tours to Lyme Hall, she doesn't go inside herself. She wants to keep her vision of Pembury literally intact. Says Hall, in our minds we think we have seen Jennifer L. as Elizabeth Bennet looking out of the windows and seeing the lake on the grounds of Pemberley, but in fact it's all down to skillful editing. Number 8. Middle-earth. The Lord of the Rings trilogy. When he was writing The Lord of the Rings, British fantasy author J.R.R. Tolkien meticulously created the vivid details of Middle-earth, the setting for his trilogy. Tolkien produced a colourful annotated map of Middle-earth, now housed at the Bodleian Libraries at Oxford University. Tolkien also made sketches of his fantasy realm. When movie director Peter Jackson acquired the rights for his movies based on Tolkien's Lord of the Rings trilogy, he knew exactly which location would best represent Middle-earth, Jackson's homeland of New Zealand. Jackson used 150 locations in New Zealand during the making of his movies. Each movie in the trilogy grossed an average of $970 million, and the third film was the highest-grossing film in 2003. New Zealand embraces its identity as Middle-earth in its tourism marketing. On its tourism website, it's called the Perfect Middle-earth. Many people must see New Zealand's sloping hills, majestic mountains, and limpid bodies of water as the perfect features for Middle-earth. Roughly 47,000 Tolkien fans per year visit film locations in New Zealand. Number 7. The Empire State Building, King Kong. Since it opened in 1931, the Empire State Building has been featured in over 250 movies. One of the building's earliest scene-stealing cameos was in the 1933 movie King Kong. In the film, the behemoth ape King Kong escapes from an exhibit and kidnaps the character portrayed by Fay Wray, with whom he is smitten. He carries her to the top of the Empire State Building, where she's rescued when the gorilla is shot repeatedly by airplane gunners. In 1933, the scene served as a homage to the socio-cultural relevance of the relatively new Empire State Building. In 2019, the Empire State Building paid homage to the film. As part of a $165 million renovation, designers built a gallery with interactive exhibits on the second floor of the world-famous tower. As visitors walk through a 1930s newsroom, King Kong's fingers pierce the walls as he dangles from the rooftop, dodging airplanes. In another exhibit, visitors can step into Kong's arms. Number 6. The Iron Throne, Game of Thrones. A Song of Ice and Fire, the fantasy series George R.R. Martin began writing in 1991, hasn't yet been completed. The HBO miniseries, based on Martin's books, however, premiered in 2011 and ended in 2019. The series earned 12 Emmy Awards for its final season, the most wins for any individual show. The finale was watched by over 13 million viewers, the most viewers for any HBO show, according to the Wall Street Journal. Since the show was filmed in 10 countries, fans of both the books and the miniseries have many tourist destinations from which to choose. Arguably, the most contested site in the series is King's Landing, home of the Iron Throne that inspires the brutal succession game that gives the series its title. In 2019, HBO hid 6 Iron Thrones throughout the world and awarded prizes to fans who found them using clues posted on the Game of Thrones Twitter account. The scenes in King's Landing featured the real Iron Throne, the one built by the show's set designers, and this was filmed in Dubrovnik, Croatia. In 2015, the mayor of Dubrovnik claimed HBO was gifting the Iron Throne to his city. HBO later denied the mayor's claim. Dubrovnik does not have the Iron Throne yet, but it does have a museum honoring Game of Thrones. Number 5. Llanddewi Brefi from Little Britain. One of the recurring characters on Matt Lucas's and David Williams's 2003 BBC sketch comedy television series Little Britain is David Thomas, a flamboyant and experienced youth who doggedly insists he's the only gay man in the village of Llanddewi Brefi in Wales. The sketches are actually shot in Buckinghamshire, England. Still, the popularity of Lucas's character has strengthened the tourism industry in Llanddewi Brefi. Shop owner Neil Driver, who owns Shop Brefi in partnership with his wife Glesney, says tourists come to have their photos taken while they're standing in front of the sign at the town's entrance, and sometimes they even steal the signs. In 2005, Driver told Wales News that he had sold 40 shirts with a quote from the show. Number 4. Highclere Castle. Downton Abbey. Sam Wollaston, a television critic for the British newspaper The Guardian, called Julian Fellowes' series Downton Abbey a posh soap opera, but a pretty bloody splendid posh soap opera. The series dramatizes the interpersonal relationships of the Crawley family, the owners of the estate Downton Abbey, and the servants who attend to the Crawleys. The Crawleys' story also intersects with important socio-cultural and socio-political events in England at the turn of the 20th century. Highclere Castle is where the interior shots, most notably the dining hall, the entrance room, and the staircase, and the exterior shots for the series were filmed. In a way, Highclere Castle is the titular character since the show is named for the Crawleys' estate. The popularity of the show has increased the popularity of Highclere Castle, Downton Abbey's real-world counterpart. Geordie Herbert, the 8th Earl of Carnarvon, and Lady Fiona Carnarvon, who own Highclere Castle, say the tourism created by the show has assisted them in paying for the castle's necessary repairs. As of 2015, 1,250 tourists per day visited Highclere Castle. In 2019, Airbnb offered 2 sweepstakes winners an overnight stay in the property to promote the newly released Downton Abbey movie. Number 3. King's Cross Station. Harry Potter. In 2018, author J.K. Rowling's 7-book Harry Potter series became the best-selling book series in history. Rowling's series has sold over 500 million copies worldwide. Rowling's work is appealing, especially for her most devoted fans, partially because of how deftly she depicts Hogwarts, the wizard training school where Harry seeks to master his craft. In the book, Harry travels to Hogwarts by taking the platform at 9 3/4 in King's Cross Station. Boarders must reach the platform by running through a brick wall between platforms 9 and 10. At the actual King's Cross Station, platforms 9 and 10 are separated by tracks. Luckily for Harry Potter fans, there's still a platform 9 3/4, sort of. A luggage trolley is embedded in a wall in the station concourse. Above the trolley is a sign that says platform 9 3/4. Tourists may have professional photos taken grasping the trolley. A nearby gift shop offers tourists the option to further personalize the photo by wearing a scarf in the Hogwarts house colors of their choice. The photo and the scarf are available for purchase. King's Cross Station 9 3/4 welcomes over 1 million visitors every year. Rowling, for her part, said she immediately knew she would locate platform 9 3/4 at King's Cross Station because it has emotional significance for her. Her parents met on a trolley there. Number 2. The Hollywood Sign. In 1923, Los Angeles Times publisher Harry Chandler invested in an upscale housing development. The housing development was called Hollywoodland. In order to advertise, Chandler bought 45-foot-high white letters that spelled out the name of his development, and they were located on the south side of Mount Lee in the Hollywood Hills. He anchored the letters to telephone poles and attached a total of 4,000 illuminated lights to the lettering. The word land was removed from the sign in 1949, long after Hollywoodland had gone out of business. business. The sign has received regular maintenance checks since the 1970s, and its sociocultural significance continues to be confirmed. The Hollywood sign, or at least a studio set replica of it, has appeared in over a dozen movies. Number 1. Abbey Road. The Beatles. When rock and roll's most famous quartet, the Beatles, crossed Abbey Road in the cover photo of their 1969 album of the same name, they elevated the significance of their recording studio, Abbey Road Studios. Now linked inexorably with the success of a band ranked number 1 in the 2010 Rolling Stones list of 100 greatest artists, Abbey Road is a symbolic home for any musical artist who desires creative freedom. Sam Smith, Lady Gaga, and Adele, for example, have recently recorded at Abbey Road Studios. While Abbey Road Studios isn't open for tours, Abbey Road Crossing, the crossing on the Beatles' album cover, is usually crowded with tourists taking photographs. So I really hope you found that video interesting. If you did, please do hit that thumbs up button below, and don't forget to subscribe. Brand new videos just like this every day of the week. For more from me, why not check out a podcast I do called The BrainFood Show? If you search BrainFood, one word, wherever you get your podcasts, you will find it. And as always, thank you for watching.